Tonight, we unravel a story so wild it makes a daytime soap opera look like a documentary. The Biden crime family, Fauci's Houdini-style escape act, and pardons being handed out like Oprah's favorite things. Remember when Joe Biden told us his administration wouldn't hand out preemptive pardons? Yeah, that promise lasted about as long as a New Year's resolution at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Now we're knee-deep in scandals featuring secret wire transfers, shell companies so shady they'd make the mafia blush, and Fauci getting a presidential pardon that still might not save him from the legal quicksand. Turns out Fauci's pardon doesn't cover everything, like lying to Congress or using burner phones like he's auditioning for a spy thriller. And the Biden family? Oh, just millions of dollars in wire transfers from China, Romania, and Russia. Nothing to see here, folks, right? Meanwhile, Democrats are out here ignoring the evidence like it's a Netflix show they just can't be bothered to watch. So grab your popcorn, because between Fauci's legal gymnastics and Biden's family tree of corruption, this saga is shaping up to be the gift that keeps on giving. And trust me, we're just getting started.
What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. So Fauci gets pardoned and the Biden family is laundering money like it's a Breaking Bad spinoff. All right, let's start with Anthony Fauci, the man who went from America's doctor to America's biggest liability faster than Biden forgets sentences.
I don't know how many times I can say it, Madam Chair. We did not fund gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
In our health lead, we now know that a bat coronavirus was enhanced in a lab.
Biden gave him a preemptive pardon that covers everything back from 2014. We're talking about gain-of-function research, pardoned. Cover-up for C-19 origins, pardoned. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this also covers parking tickets and overdue library books. Florida is already licking their chops. Ron DeSantis is probably drafting up a law to prosecute Fauci for crimes against the Florida man.
So in Florida, we chose freedom over Fauciism, and we're much better off for doing that. I think his lockdown policies were not justified by the scientific data. He was somebody that fear-mongered about schools. He did not support Florida when we had our kids in school in person. I think he was wrong about masks and asymptomatic spread. And then obviously he does so many interviews that it was pretty clear to me after a pretty short time, you know, this was all about himself and his own image. And for me, you look at that magazine cover with him lounging by the pool with the sunglasses on, you know, right in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, it was almost like a let them eat cake moment for all the people who were chafing under his lockdowns, and yet he seemed to be having the time of his life.
Fauci's about to find out the hard way that Florida doesn't do pandemic forgiveness. Now we got to talk about Rand Paul. This guy's been chasing Anthony Fauci like the IRS has been chasing Wesley Snipes.
This is something you've been concerned about for a long time. I want to flash back 4 years to this particularly tense exchange that you had with the then director of the National Institutes for Allergy and Infectious Disease, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing superviruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous. I think it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States.
Again, we have not funded gain-of-function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. No matter how many times
you're parsing
you say
words.
it,
There
it
was
didn't happen.
research.
You have said that Fauci should go to prison over his dishonesty regarding the COVID-19 virus and the gain-of-function research. But, Senator, he is now protected by a preemptive presidential pardon.
History is going to judge him harshly. By accepting that pardon through Supreme Court precedents, he's actually accepting his guilt, so he's accepting culpability. He made the decision to bypass and to avoid the safety committee, to fund this without adequate review of its safety. He made a terrible decision, but you have to realize it wasn't a one-off. For over a decade, Anthony Fauci had said that the risks of a pandemic occurring were worth the benefit of the knowledge. Most other scientists disagree with that. But the idea that we could do anything to any virus, and if it escapes, oh well, whoops, too bad, the knowledge is worth it, it's not. There are viruses that could kill 50% of humanity. We should not be trying to aerosolize Ebola or aerosolize the avian flu or make it easier to transmit the avian flu among humans. Right now, our biggest benefit is the avian flu can get into humans, but it's not going human to human. If you were to work in a lab with the avian flu, you can probably make the virus go to human with intended or intentional mutations. That would be a disaster. And anybody who wants to do that in the lab should never be funded by the taxpayer.
He has receipts, burner phones, couriers, and emails that scream, "Delete me!"
We now have emails that show him saying that he knew it was gain of function, that the virus looked manipulated, and that he was worried that this came from the Wuhan lab. February 1st of 2020. Then he spent the last 3 years saying nothing to see here. We also know that there was a safety committee that should have reviewed this, and we know that Anthony Fauci went around the safety committee. The safety committee set up in place to make sure this wouldn't happen, never saw the Wuhan funding because Anthony Fauci allowed the funding to go around the safety committee. This is a bombshell revelation, and this will eventually bring down Anthony Fauci.
The NIH apparently turned into a CIA spinoff where they're running black ops instead of research grants. This isn't science, this is Mission Impossible, except instead of Tom Cruise, we have Anthony Fauci in a lab coat saying this email will self-destruct in 5 seconds. And then there's the Bidens. These guys have more shell companies than a seafood buffet. Romania, China, Russia, you name it.
We've identified about 20 plus shell companies that the Bidens have created to launder the money they were receiving from foreign nationals down to their personal bank accounts. We've identified about 12 different banks that they were laundering this money through. Maria, what we presented yesterday was from 4 banks. We have 8 more banks to go. But what we found is, thus far, $10 million that I don't think a single member of the Biden family can explain how they received was deposited into the Biden family accounts. And the way they did it, the way they transferred money around is honestly why they got so many suspicious activity reports from the banks, because it's a pattern of money laundering. So there's clearly a trail of corruption here that leads all the way to the top. I mean, why else would the Biden family be receiving this money were it not for the big guy?
They've got dirty money flowing like it's a Kickstarter for corruption. The best part? A $240,000 direct wire to Joe Biden himself. No memo, no explanation.
Found 2 specific checks that went from the Biden family influence peddling to Joe Biden personally, one for $200,000 and one for $40,000. So we've identified $250,000 in direct payment that Joe Biden received from his family's shady influence peddling schemes.
What's next? Hunter Biden Venmoing him $50 with the caption that says, "For the Ukraine thing"? Joe's probably sitting there signing deals in Mandarin thinking it's a Waffle House menu. Meanwhile, Democrats are acting like they can't see a thing. It's not just denial, it's full-on Bird Box. Now we got to talk about Trump pardoning the J6 protesters. Liberals are out here absolutely losing their mind, claiming that it's a green light for MAGA mobs to show up at your door.
We know exactly what this leads to. Authoritarian rulers all over the world have always liked to have paramilitary, loyal but unofficial perpetrators of violence and menace to work on their behalf, to intimidate and hurt anyone in opposition, to make it too scary for normal people to participate in politics or civic life.
Rachel Maddow's out here saying Trump's building his own army. Look, if you've been in jail for 3 years because an undercover FBI agent broke a Capitol window, I think you deserve a second chance. Biden's pardoning his whole family like he's running a criminal clearance sale. Meanwhile, Trump's signing executive orders like a kid making a Christmas wish list. He ended DEI programs, declared cartels or terrorist organizations, and told federal employees to get back in the office. Biden's like, everybody gets a break. Trump's like, Karen doesn't show up by 9 a.m., cut her paycheck. Biden's running the country like it's bedtime, and Trump's out here like an episode of Shark Tank. You've got 90 seconds to prove that you're not dead weight. So where does this leave us? Fauci's pardon might not save him from state prosecution. The Bidens are basically running a Ponzi scheme disguised as diplomacy. This is the reality that we're living in. A corrupt family dynasty, a mad scientist, and a maverick ex-president playing 4D chess with the Democrats. America, where the only thing more corrupt than the Bidens is the Wi-Fi at the local Motel 6. Let me know what you think about the Biden crime family and Fauci. Drop your comments down below, smash the like button, share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.